This is the story of Dorothy Dandridge, the first black woman in history nominated for a Best Actress Academy Award, a performer who earned $75,000 per film, headlined the Empire Room at the Waldorf Astoria, and put her face on the cover of Life magazine before any black woman had done it before her. When she died on September 8, 1965, she was 42 years old, and her bank account held exactly $2.14. The version of this story that most people have heard places the blame on her manager, Earl Mills. That version is wrong, and correcting it makes what actually happened to her far more devastating. The man who engineered her financial destruction was a Hollywood attorney whose fraud ran so deep and so long that he later ran the exact same operation on one of the most beloved stars in entertainment history. A violent husband compounded the wreckage that the attorney left behind. And underneath everything was an industry built on racial inequality that limited what a black actress could earn and offered her almost no protection when the people she trusted turned on her. She was methodically robbed by people operating inside a system that, in 1950s Hollywood, gave black artists almost no recourse when it happened to them. This is the full story. A child who was already a professional. Dorothy Jean Dandridge came into the world on November 9, 1922, at City Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. And that hospital would one day become a detail that felt almost scripted. 44 years later, Halle Berry, the actress who would play Dandridge on screen and win the award that Dandridge never could, was born in that same building. Her father, Cyril Dandridge, left before she was born, and Dorothy never met him. Her mother, Ruby, was an entertainer and actress in her own right, and she and her older sister, Vivian, grew up partly under the care of a woman named Geneva Williams, described in accounts from that era as harsh and emotionally cruel. No conventional childhood was on offer here. Performing wasn't something Dorothy and Vivian dreamed about doing. It was something they did for money before either of them was old enough to understand what money was. The two sisters hit the road billed as the Wonder Children, later the Wonder Kids, working black churches across the country during the Great Depression on the Chitlin Circuit, which was the network of segregated venues where black performers could actually find work in an America that locked them out of mainstream stages. When a schoolmate named Etta Jones joined them, the act became the Dandridge Sisters, and by the mid-1930s, those three girls had booked the Cotton Club and the Apollo Theatre. Dorothy was not yet a teenager, and she already carried a professional resume most adult performers would have envied. The breakthrough. A 1951 solo nightclub booking at the Macambo in Los Angeles made Dorothy Dandridge the talk of the city, and 2 years after that, starring opposite Harry Belafonte in Bright Road, gave her a real film platform for the first time. None of that, though, prepared anyone for what Carmen Jones would do. Otto Preminger's all-black musical adaptation opened October 28, 1954, with Dorothy in the lead, and the response was immediate and total. $70,000 in its first week alone, $50,000 in the week that followed, and more than $10 million worldwide by the time it finished its run. Hollywood, which had built a career on assuming black actresses couldn't carry a film, suddenly had proof it was wrong. On November 1, 1954, Dorothy Dandridge became the first black woman to appear on the cover of Life magazine. Then came the 27th Academy Awards on March 30, 1955, and with it a nomination for Best Actress, the first ever given to an African-American woman. Grace Kelly won that night for The Country Girl, but the nomination itself had broken something open that had been sealed for decades. And this is where the industry responded with real momentum, at least initially. On February 15, 1955, 20th Century Fox signed Dorothy to a 3-film deal at $75,000 per picture, with studio head Darrell F. Zanuck driving the contract personally, and April 11, 1955, brought another first when she headlined the Empire Room at the Waldorf Astoria, the first black performer ever booked into that room. Engagements followed in London, Brazil, and across the United States. A Golden Globe nomination came for Porgy and Bess in 1959. By every standard Hollywood used to measure stardom, Dorothy Dandridge had arrived, and none of it would be enough to protect her from what was already being arranged behind her back. The wall that racism built. Dorothy Dandridge's financial collapse did not begin with a single bad investment. The fragility that left her vulnerable to fraud had been built into her professional life long before Jerome Rosenthal appeared. Hotels drained their swimming pools after she used them and refilled them before white guests arrived. Segregation rules kept her confined to her room between performances at the very venues that were paying to book her, barred from the restaurants and casinos that white performers moved through freely. On screen, contracts prevented her from showing physical affection with white co-stars. In Carmen Jones, the film that launched her to Oscar-level recognition, her singing voice was dubbed entirely by a white opera singer named Marilyn Horne. That is the voice the audience heard when Dorothy Dandridge opened her mouth. The strategy she received from Preminger to hold out exclusively for leading roles and decline, supporting parts that might signal a step backward, made career sense on paper. But leading roles for black actresses in 1950s, Hollywood was so scarce they bordered on non-existent. Long, expensive gaps opened between productions. The Fox deal that appeared to guarantee her future revealed itself to be a ceiling, and the nightclub circuit had to carry the financial weight that the film career was supposed to be building. The industry admired her, put her on their covers, collected the box office she generated, and then offered her almost nothing to sustain the career they'd built around her image. Harry Belafonte put it plainly. She was the right person in the right place at the wrong time. Without a film career that could sustain steady income, every dollar she earned needed to be managed with complete integrity, and there was no cushion, no fallback. She got one fraudulent advisor, one catastrophic marriage, and one failed investment. She got all three. Earl Mills, the man who has been blamed for what he didn't do. The name most commonly attached to Dorothy Dandridge's downfall is Earl Mills, and getting that wrong matters enough to address directly before the real story can be told. Mills came on as her personal and talent manager in the early 1950s, handling bookings, career appearances, and the day-to-day management of her professional life. Their relationship, by his own description, often bordered on the romantic, though her close friend Geraldine Branton pushed back on that characterization. Mills was devoted to Dorothy Dandridge, and his actions proved it. When she decided to marry Jack Dennison, Mills fought it. He told her the relationship was wrong and opposed it directly. When Dennison pushed for Dorothy to perform at his struggling Sunset Strip restaurant, Mills told her just as plainly that a star of her standing had no business working that kind of room. She disagreed on both counts. Both decisions cost her, and Mills had been right about both of them. And then there is this. On September 8, 1965, when Dorothy Dandridge didn't answer her door, Mills was the person standing outside it. He pried it open with a tire iron and found her. After she died, he spent years making sure her story would not be swallowed up by time, writing Dorothy Dandridge, A Portrait in Black, published in 1970 and later expanded, which became the book the 1999 HBO film was built on. Earl Mills was not the person who destroyed Dorothy Dandridge. He spent the remainder of his life making sure the world knew who had. The personal tragedies that made her vulnerable. Her first marriage was to Harold Nicholas of the Nicholas brothers, married September 6, 1942, and Harold was unfaithful and largely absent throughout. On September 2, 1943, their daughter Harolyn was born during a delivery that went badly from the start. Harold reportedly had the car that day and was out playing golf when Dorothy went into labor, which delayed her reaching the hospital. The oxygen deprivation during that delivery left Harolyn with cerebral anoxia, brain damage that required intensive around-the-clock care for the rest of her life. Dorothy blamed herself for those 22 remaining years, carrying that guilt every single day. The financial weight of Harolin's care was relentless. Private specialized nursing for a severely disabled child does not pause because her mother's film career has hit a gap between productions, and those gaps in Dorothy's career were long and frequent. Dorothy and Harold divorced in 1951. A painful affair with Preminger followed the success of Carmen Jones and ended badly. And then Jack Dennison entered the picture. Dennison came into her life on June 22, 1959, over the explicit objections of her manager and her closest friends, and he was volatile and abusive. He persuaded Dorothy to invest in his failing Sunset Strip restaurant and perform there to draw customers. Mills had warned her against exactly this, and the restaurant failed, and the money went with it. 3 years of marriage, ending in divorce in 1962, and the abuse it carried had been both personal and financial. By the time Dorothy walked free of that marriage, years of damage had been compounding underneath her, and the majority of it had not come from Dennison at all. That bill belonged to someone else. Jerome Rosenthal, the fraud that destroyed her. Born in 1911, Jerome B. Rosenthal built a Hollywood legal practice with major entertainment figures as his clients. And what made him dangerous was precisely how he positioned himself. Not merely as a lawyer, but as a financial steward, the trusted figure with authority over his clients' investments, the man who moved their money and advised their business decisions. Dorothy Dandridge was among those clients, and some circles knew him informally as Uncle Jerry, an intimacy that was not accidental. What Rosenthal did with his clients' money was funnel it into speculative deals saturated with conflicts of interest, engineered to benefit him while his clients watched their savings drain away. In Dorothy's case, the people handling her finances had swindled her out of $150,000, and layered on top of that was $139,000 in back taxes owed to the IRS. A debt that accumulated while Rosenthal was supposedly overseeing her financial affairs. The money she had earned through film, through years of nightclub work, through the Fox deal, through every performance on every stage, had been stripped away. And here's the thing that left her with nowhere to turn. She could not sue him. There was nothing left to fund a lawsuit with. And this is where the pattern becomes documented beyond any dispute, because Rosenthal ran the same operation on Doris Day. After Day's husband, Marty Melcher, died in the late 1960s, she discovered that her finances had been handled in a virtually identical way. Speculative ventures, pervasive conflicts of interest, her money cycling through Rosenthal's arrangements. Day had resources Dorothy Dandridge never possessed at that point, and she fought back. Day versus Rosenthal produced a judgment of $22,835,646 for fraud and malpractice, and the full judgment finalized. March 31st, 1975 reached $26,396,511, including $1 million in punitive damages. It survived appeal. Rosenthal was eventually disbarred. Doris Day addressed the Dandridge connection directly in her 1976 autobiography, writing that Dorothy had died shortly after her agent called to tell her that he had checked on certain investments which her lawyer, Jerome Rosenthal, had made for her, and had discovered that she was penniless. And then Day added, Dandridge had no money to sue Rosenthal. Doris Day collected $26 million in court. Dorothy Dandridge died with $2.14. The difference was who could afford to fight him. One point of precision belongs here. Rosenthal's culpability for Dorothy's losses was never established in a courtroom because she died before any legal action could be brought. What the Day case proved was a judicially confirmed pattern of fraud, and every available piece of evidence suggests Dorothy experienced the same pattern. Rosenthal died in 2007 without ever facing a courtroom for what happened to her, but the method had been proved. The collapse. Coming out of her divorce from Dennison in 1962, Dorothy Dandridge had the full picture in front of her for the first time. $150,000 gone, a $139,000 IRS debt sitting on top of it, the failed restaurant investment, and years of earnings that should have grown into security stripped away instead. None of that could be fought without money she no longer had. April 26, 1963, is when she filed for bankruptcy, and the Hollywood Hills home she'd owned was lost in the aftermath. Her furniture was liquidated, her jewelry sold alongside it, and private round-the-clock care for Haralyn was no longer affordable. Haralyn was placed in Camarillo State Hospital. Dorothy moved to a small apartment at 8495 Fountain Avenue in West Hollywood. From $75,000 per film and sold-out nights at the Waldorf Astoria to bankruptcy at 40 years old, her daughter committed to a state institution, her home auctioned off, her furniture gone. The final push and the end. Dorothy Dandridge did not stop. In 1964, Las Vegas lounge bookings were her reality, not headlining as she once had, but working, showing up, trying to climb out of a financial pit that had been dug under her while she trusted the wrong people. By 1965, a two-film deal with a Mexican producer named Raul Fernandez looked like the beginning of a real return, and a two-week engagement at Basin Street East in New York for roughly $10,000 had been booked. Pieces of momentum were gathering, however fragile. Sometime in those final months, she handed Earl Mills a handwritten letter with instructions. Nothing she was wearing was to be disturbed. She wanted to be cremated immediately, and whatever money or furniture remained should go to her mother, Ruby. September 8, 1965. She didn't answer her door. Mills pried it open with a tire iron and found her. When the accounting was done, her bank account held $2.14. The cause of her death has never been settled to everyone's satisfaction. On November 18, 1965, Los Angeles County Coroner Dr. Theodore J. Curfey issued the official ruling: accidental overdose of imipramine, the antidepressant she had been relying on heavily under the brand name Tofranil. But among those who knew her, that ruling has never fully closed the question. Her last documented words to her close friend Gary Branton had been, "Whatever happens, I know you will understand." No suicide ruling was ever formally entered, and the official record holds accidental overdose. But the people who loved her have never been entirely certain that accidental tells the complete story. Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, the Freedom Mausoleum. That is where Dorothy Dandridge was laid to rest. What came after? After Dorothy's death, Earl Mills devoted himself to making sure her name survived. His biography, Dorothy Dandridge, A Portrait in Black, published in 1970 and later expanded into Dorothy Dandridge. An intimate biography, kept her story alive through an era that had largely moved on, and that book became the foundation the 1999 HBO film was built upon. In 1997, film critic and historian Donald Bogle published Dorothy Dandridge, a biography which brought renewed attention to her life and led directly to introducing Dorothy Dandridge on HBO. Directed by Martha Coolidge and written by Shonda Rhimes and Scott Abbott, it premiered August 21, 1999, drawing approximately 4.1 million viewers. Halle Berry produced and starred, and she took home the Emmy, the Golden Globe, and the SAG Award for the performance. 3 years after that, at the Academy Awards for 2002, Berry became the first black woman to win Best Actress for Monsters Ball. And when she stood at that podium, she dedicated the award in part to Dorothy Dandridge, alongside Lena Horne and Diahann Carroll. 47 years after Dorothy Dandridge became the first black woman nominated for Best Actress, another black woman finally won. A Hollywood Walk of Fame star came in 1984, 19 years after her death. Lena Horne reportedly called her our Marilyn Monroe, and the comparison holds: two women consumed by an industry that wanted what they offered without protecting who they were. Both gone far too young. Earl Mills did not destroy Dorothy Dandridge. He warned her against the marriage that would abuse her and the venue that would waste her talent. He opposed the decisions that hurt her at every turn, and when she was gone, he spent decades making sure the world knew who she had been. The destruction came from Jerome Rosenthal, a Hollywood attorney who ran a documented fraud operation, drained Dorothy's accounts, generated $139,000 in tax debt she hadn't created, and walked free because she couldn't afford the fight. More damage came from Jack Dennison, who abused her personally and extracted what the attorney left behind. Holding all of it in place was a Hollywood system built on racial inequality, the kind that put her face on the cover of Life magazine, and then made sure the roles required to sustain her career would never come in sufficient numbers. Doris Day had money, lawyers, and time. She won $26 million from Jerome Rosenthal in court. Dorothy Dandridge had $2.14. If I were white, I could capture the world. Those are Dorothy Dandridge's own words, and they tell you exactly how clearly she understood the architecture she was operating inside. What she couldn't defend against were the specific people she had trusted with the money she managed to earn within that architecture. $2.14 is not just a number. It is the final accounting of what happens when a gifted woman is defrauded by the people closest to her, constrained by the industry above her, and denied any legal avenue to fight back. It is what remains when a racist and corrupt system takes everything it has decided she doesn't deserve to keep. She was the right person, in the right place, at the wrong time. If this story stayed with you, there are more where it came from. Subscribe to Backstage Hollywood. New videos every week.